is subject. We reach 53. Yeah. I think we finish by today. I think today. Following such a teacher and having become a renunciate, having studied the Conqueror's words not too poorly, this monk who strives in the yogic practices such as the depth of his reverence to the great seer, right? So then verse 53, it says, following such a teacher, right, following such a teacher of the teacher who taught, who spoke, the teacher or the speaker who taught the dependent origination, the teaching of such a teacher. The teaching of such a teacher of dependent origination, in that teaching, in that in the doctrine, in that Buddha's doctrine, Jitsongaba says he have become a renunciate, right? Renunciate means when you enter into the when you change your external outlook, that means now you enter into the Buddha's not only enter into the Buddha's teaching, but also there is some vow that one can take, which is the basis for achieving the liberation, which is the basis for achieving enlightenment, like this. So the first we have 8 individual liberation vow, right? 8 individual liberation vow. So he took either of these 8 individual liberation vow, which is the Yongzo, the complete Upasika vow. Complete Upasika vow means although one can remain as a layperson, but one can remain as a layperson, and then also one receive the layperson vow, right? You make certain kind of promise, one makes some certain kind of pledge that I will not do this and do not do that. So that is while remaining as a layperson, right? So this is Upasika, right? One can refraining from the certain kind of non-virtuous actions, right? One can take 2, one can take 3, 4, or 5. Well, it's 5 is a complete, the complete Upasika, right? So this was Jitsongaba at the age of 3. He received that Upasika vow from the master Kamaba, the first Kamaba, right? Kamaba Rangjung Doje, right? Kamaba Rangjung, I think Rebe Doje, Kamaba Rebe Doje. He first received that vow, and then at the age of 7, he received the novice vow, novice vow, right? And then slowly, as he gained adolescence, he then because the fully ordination vow, one can take 20 above, right? So Jitsongaba received all these 3 vows, right? And then after he says, and having become a renunciate, so that means having become a monk, right? Then what did Jitsongaba what important thing that Jitsongaba did was Jitsongaba then studied, then Jitsongaba did the reflection of the teaching, study of the teaching, reflection of the teaching, right. This study of the teaching and reflection of the teaching is carried out while he while dwelling on the training in ethics, training in vows, right. So so the period where Jajangaba begin his study begins from at the age of 17. Then Jajangaba began his series of study, right, of all the great treatises. Age 17 to age 31, up to this period, that means almost 21 years, right, 23 years or 21.
24.
Huh? 24.
14 years. 17 to 31.
Yeah, 17 to 31.
That's 14 years.
Huh?
14.
14?
Yeah.
No, not 14.
17. 17 to 31, right?
Yeah.
14 years.
I 17 31. Oh no, I look like yeah, yeah, 17 to I think 30 37, 17 to 37,
21 years, 20 years.
right. Yeah. So 17 to 37 he began his all the rigorous study of both sutra and tantra, right. Then right, then that's why say he is in this verse 7 says, having studied the conqueror's words not too poorly, right, not too poorly. Then with this then what he did is he he creates such a structure. He created such a structure where all the Buddha's teaching treatises, especially the great treatises, the great teachings, should be seen as a means of the instruction of practice. This is one of the unique system that Jajangaba has led, Jajangaba has created, that Jajangaba has structured. Right. Because in early times, there is some misconceptions where they say, oh, these, big treatises, oh, these are for the practice, or this there are specific, practice which is just for, instruction, the practice of instruction, whereas all the great treatises are just for dispelling the doubt. Right. So Jajangaba, contrary, in contrast, Jajangaba say, no, that's not how we think. Jajangaba say these great treatises are just means for the just means for the practice of instruction of practice, nothing other than the instruction of practice, right. So then not only that, then after this, that means now from 37 to 41, then Jajangaba devoted his time seeing all the teachings of the Buddha as an instruction of practice, the means for the instruction of practice. So this he did from age 37 to 41. Then from the 41 to 62, because Jajangaba lived until 63, right, 63. So 62 to 41 to 63, he then practiced all the Buddha's teaching by day and night, right. So that's why I say this monk who stepped in the yogic practices, that means now after having well studied, well reflected, right, well reflected, and then while abiding, while dwelling in the training of concentration and training in wisdom, but then did the meditation, right, he devoted his time on meditation. So through meditation, right, so follow the same, just by said in one of his spiritual song, right. So this goes well with here, right. Such as the, now by doing all this, I have tremendous reverence from the depth of my heart to you, who is to you, the Buddha, the speaker of the the divine origination, the speaker of the real truth, like this. So relating to how Buddha Tsongkhapa see all the teaching as a means of instruction, yes, the means of the instruction of practice, I will read because some verse, some kind of words from his Laruchamo, which is important. 45. Teaching 45. A, B, C. Yeah, this one. The greatness of enabling one to understand that all of the scriptures are instruction for practice, right? So now that's why many of sometimes we have some kind of a wrong notion and mistaken notion relating to this teaching. Sometimes we find we study for a very long time sometimes, and then when it comes to practice we find some other right specific teaching and specific teacher not satisfied with what we have studied all this for a long year. So all these doubts and things are dispelled by going through this. Now let me read. In general, only the scripture of the conqueror provide the means to achieve all temporary and ultimate benefit and happiness for those who desire liberation. For only the Buddha is free from all error in teaching what is to be adopted and what is to be cast aside. Thus the sublime continuum says, Maitreya, Buddha Maitreya, this sublime continuum was written by Buddha Maitreya, right, Gyulama. Yeah, because there is no one in this world more wise than the conqueror, no other who knows precisely with the omniscient all phenomena of the world and the supreme reality. Do not disturb any of the collection of sutra set forth by the sage himself. By destroying the system of the sage, you will harm the sacred teachings. Right? This is easy to understand, right? Therefore, the words of the conqueror, words of the Buddha, the precious collections of sutra and tantra are the supreme instructions. Nonetheless, since by delving into them on their own, because Buddha Sutra is so vast, so deep, we cannot, try get direct understanding, So that's what it's saying, by delving into them on their own without depending on valid commentaries and the personal instructions of the excellent beings, the great trailblazers like Nagarjuna, right? Nagarjuna, Asanga, Dharmakedi, Chandrakedi, Buddha Balida, Aryadeva, all these great masters, Kamaleshela, right? Composed treatises, right? They wrote the book, If it is such that, if you try to read the Buddha's teaching directly, if we can understand, then no need, this great master, no need to come on this earth, right? They come onto this earth to further, illuminate the Buddha's teaching, further clarify the Buddha's teaching, composed treatises and personal instructions that comment on their intended meaning. Therefore, for something to be pure personal instruction, it must bestow a certain knowledge of the classic text, some understanding it gives, no matter how well you learn it. A personal instruction is only something to be cast aside if it cannot bestow the certain knowledge of the meaning of the Buddha's words. If it does not, gives no idea, doesn't make any sense, then Jazongpa says it's to be something cast aside, one cannot rely on. And the great commentaries and their intent, or if it teaches a path incompatible with this, if it goes against the great treatises wrote by the great trailblazers like Nagarjuna, Master Nagarjuna, Asanga, all these many great masters of the Nalanda tradition or the Otamburi. There are those who conclude that any classic text should be considered only an explanatory teaching, therefore lacking the key point of the practice. They hold that there are separate personal instructions that teach the core meaning of that their core meanings that are the heart of practice, right? There are some personal instruction which is meant for heart practice. Great treatises are not for these things. So some have this kind of notion. They then imagine that there are two separate forms of the excellent teachings: a teaching that is explained to you and the teaching that you practice. Right? These are the wrong thinking. Know that this attitude precludes the development of great respect for the stainless sutra and tantras, as well as the flawless treatises that comment on that intent. Knowing also that you accumulate the karmic obscuration of abandoning the teaching, when you see those classic texts as object of contempt and say, those are merely for promoting one's superficial knowledge and eliminating others' misconceptions. These are dispelling, not for superficial knowledge, for dispelling. They don't teach the deep meaning. Right? Some people think like this, right? So Jazongpa, say this is wrong way of thinking. Therefore, for those who desire liberation, the supreme and authentic instructions are indeed the same classic text that we what we are doing, all the same classic text. However, due to your limited intelligence and so forth, you may be unable to recognize those texts such as the supreme instructions through depending on them alone. Thus, you must seek out personal instructions, thinking, I will seek certain knowledge of those texts based on the personal instructions and excellent being of an excellent being, but do not think the texts are without substance, since they merely promote a superficial knowledge and eliminate others' misconceptions. Yet the personal instructions, since they reveal the deep meaning, are supreme. Very clear, right? The great yogi Changjub Rinzhe said, concerning instructions, complete mastery does not mean gaining ascertainment of a mere small volume that fits in the palm of one's hand. It means understanding of all the scriptures as instruction for practice, right? So these are very, very clear, crystal clear, right? Also, the great elder Gambo Rinzhe Lama said that he understands all the texts as instruction for practice by grinding to dust all wrong actions of body, speech and mind during one session of meditation on Atisha's instructions. You too must come to such an understanding, right? The precious teacher Domdamba said that it is a mistake. Now you say, the precious teacher Domdamba said that it is a mistake if, after having studied many teachings, you feel a need to look elsewhere for how to practice the teaching. Thus, there are those who have studied many teachings for a long time, but do not know at all how to practice the teaching. Right? Very clear. When they wish to practice, they must look elsewhere. Their error is not in the understanding what I have already explained. Right. Right. So this is very, very important. Right. Here, the teachings are set forth in Vasubandhu's Treasury of Knowledge. Right. The excellent teaching of the teacher Buddha is twofold: those teaching having the nature of scripture and those having the nature of realization. Right. So no need to make elaborate, right, because these are things are very clear, crystal clear. I am just trying to read, so for maybe for for reminding of oneself, as this says, there are no more than two types of teaching: scriptural and realized. Realized means attainments, spiritual attainments. Scripture means those which deals with the teachings. The scriptural teachings determine the way that you take the teaching in hand. The procedures for practice the teachings as they are realized are your practice of these procedures in accordance with how you have already determined them. Thus, these two serve as the cause and effect. For example, it is like showing a horse the race course before you race. Once you have shown it, you then race there. It would be ridiculous to show the horse one race course and then race on another. Similarly, why would you determine one thing by means of study and reflection, and then when you go to practice something else? In this vein, the last of Kamaleshwara's 3 stages of meditation says, further what you meditate on with the wisdom arisen from meditation is just that which you know with the wisdom that has arisen from study and reflection. Right? You do not meditate on something else. This is similar to how you show a horse a race track and then race it there. Right? So there is the point is, what are you doing meditation? You are meditating on something. What you are meditating? Not meditating on something. If you are meditating on something, completely blanking, that means it shows you haven't studied. You haven't found something through analytical meditation, right? So first we study and we develop a wisdom, and base that wisdom is further strengthened through reflection, and then we gain certain idea and concept. What we found as idea and concept based on reason, this is used as a meditation object. So this is what is saying, right? Thus, these instructions include in complete form all the key points of the path from the scriptures and their commentaries, from how to rely on the teacher through serenity and insight. Then they led you through concise stages of practice in which you engage in stabilizing meditation on that which requires stabilizing meditation, and you analyze with discerning wisdom that which requires analytical meditation. By doing this, you will understand all the scriptures are instruction for practice. Otherwise, you will spend your entire life without discerning wisdom, practicing just some incomplete portion of the path and not the complete corpus. Thus, you will not understand that the classic texts are instruction for practice, but you will abandon them, seeing them as merely promoting superficial knowledge and eliminating others' misconception. It is evident that the topics explained in the classic texts are for the most part only things that require analysis with discerning wisdom. If you cast them aside when you practice, then how can you develop an understanding that sees them as the supreme instruction? If these are not the supreme instruction, then could you find a master whose instructions surpass this? Right? Can you find a master something whose instruction can surpass this great treatises composed by great trailblazers whom they have professed by Buddha himself? He says no, right? Very clear, that the words are so striking, so striking, and also to the point. Therefore, when it becomes clear to you, that the profound and vast scripture collections along with their commentaries are instruction for practice, you will quickly understand that the classic texts of the profound tantric collections along with their commentaries are also instruction for practice. So, all the tantric instructions, there is not a tantric instruction which is just made for dispelling the misconceptions, right. So first we dispel the misconception, right, and then through external dispelling our misconception, based on that misconception, right, and then we transformation need to be take place, right, transformation of internal transformation, and the strengthening the spiritual attainments can be based on the elimination of the doubts, elimination of the confusion, the doubts, the confusion, the misconception, misunderstanding, all these things, right, distortions are also to practice. You will then become certain that they are supreme instruction. You will completely overcome the misconception that consider these tantras to be only the teachings that should be cast aside because they are not the actual instruction for practice, right. Extend this not only to the sutra teaching but also to the tantric teachings, right. For that's why for example if you try to see many of the syllables, syllables, some in syllables like now for example Madhyamika or value cognition, commentary, the great value cognition commentary wrote by the great thinkers like Dharmakirti, right, and then also Master Chandrakirti. All if you try to see this, lot of kind of argument, argument by this argument not through again some kind of anger like this, mostly through using the pure reason and logic, right, based on the pure reason and logic. So based on this, then transformation begin to take place, right. This transformation is then further strengthened again by using the reason and logic. So through that way, this is how transformation take place, not only for thinking, oh, this is superficial knowledge, this is dispelling doubt, not for the not made for practice. So this is wrong distortion, right, very wrong discussions. If you for just just take the Lamrim teaching alone, if you try to read from beginning to end, use a lot of this reason to refute that one need to do study like this, right away one cannot do kind of meditation, for example, temporary it helps, but for the long lasting impact in one's life, going through study and reflection is is a utmost and must, right. Also, in one of the when he tried to also talk about the qualities of the three jewels, right, Jisangpa say, oh, some say, oh, no need to meditate, analytic meditation not necessary, you just these things are not necessary. Maybe if I read, maybe beneficial. Oh Lord. jump to yeah, here I am reading, the good qualities of enlightened activities. Just talk about, it's a very, really all are, to the point, very striking. When you have gained certain, the preceding briefly summarizes the way to reflect on the Buddha. If you reflect in a variety of ways, your faith will also arise in many ways. The more you reflect, the stronger and more enduring your faith will become. The same applies to the good qualities of the other two jewels. When you have gained certainty by meditating in this way, you will understand that the scriptures and their commentaries are instructions. Very, what we have, already taught, read. Well, now here comes again, are instructions, in that most of them teach the good qualities of the three refuges. People who reject analytical meditation as a practice, thinking that it is mere conceptualization, shut off, then what happened? Then shut off many such ways of accumulating merit and clearing away obscurations. Therefore, be aware that such a rejection is a great obstacle to taking advantage of the boundless potential of life, of leisure and opportunity. We have precious human rebirth, we have precious human rebirth, and we can take a lot of, we can strengthen our qualities, internal qualities, we can strengthen many internal qualities, inner values, all this, all this transformation is, blocked, because there is no conceptualization. If there is no conceptualization, if we don't do any analytical meditation, how can we take the essence from this life, precious human life? Now, the more you practice these things, the more accustomed your mind will become to them, and the easier it will able to practice that you had initially found difficult to learn. Right? This is what the great Master Shantideva say. Right? Everything depends on the familiarity, habituated. Once you are habituated, there is no such thing called difficult. Right? So this Jatsangapa is saying the same thing. Because our mind is sometimes very honest. The only thing that that matter is whether we get used to it or whether you get habituated with this, accustomed to this training or not. Once we are well trained, then everything is spontaneous. This is what Jatsangapa was saying. Because in the beginning, from the when we try to even alphabet, we try to learn the alphabet, very difficult. In India, when we learn, we get learn through through teachers' punishment, right? Then slowly you reach university. Slowly, all this happen. Why? Right? Because we are habituated. We get used to all these things. We are well trained. Right? So in you see in the street, and some people, sport, when it comes to a very flexible body, you may think, oh, how can I do this? Even the food cooking, right? Cooking very specialized, you don't know, oh, I won't be able to do this. But again, through training, everything is possible. There is no such thing called difficulty. The only difficulty comes from one's mind. Right. Now, I too should obtain Buddhahood like the Buddha whom I recollect. You will have visions of the Buddha day and night. No matter how much you suffer at death, you will not lose your recollection of the Buddha. Right? Now again, sir. if you reflect on the Buddha's good qualities, Buddha's good qualities again and again, you will receive a blessing. You will receive a blessing commensurate with the strength of your faith and the purity of your mind, because you have gained certainty about them. You will go for refuge from the depth of your heart and train yourself in the precepts of refuge. Then everything you will do become a practice of the teaching. It is said that we value the Buddha's knowledge even less than that of the accurate diviner. Right, this right, this striking, was also very striking, to the point. If a reliable diviner says, I know that this year you will not face any problem, we are relieved. If he says, this year you will face problem, do this and not that, we strive to follow his advice. If we do not do, we think, oh, I did not follow his advice, and worry. But when the Buddha says, you should give this up, you should practice this, do we commit ourselves to these injunctions, to these instructions? Do we worry if we do not follow them? Or do we say, well, the teaching says that, but right now, under the circumstances, I can't follow it. I must do this instead, and completely forsaking the Buddha's teaching, proceed straight away with the disregard according to our own ideas. Very striking. If you do not examine your mind, you will be pleased. If you are not misled by the superficial, look within your mind and reflect carefully. This condition is despicable. Right. Thus, reflect again and again. They reflect again and again upon the good qualities of the Buddha and strive to attain certainty from the depth of your heart. Once you gain this, you reach the very core of the practice of going for refuge. So, Jatangappa's main point, I will read first, then you will gain certainty with respect to the teachings from which the Buddha arose and the community that practice the teaching. Without this, there is no practice of going for refuge that transform your mind, not to mention other paths. So, Jatangappa's main, the main message for us followers is that you need to think over again and again. You need to do the analytical meditation, right? Analytical meditation, think over again and again. So then finally you get some result, solution, right? We may found some solution. So based on that solution, then this is the basis on which we can take the journey through the spiritual path. So Jatangappa's the final message: think over and again, do the analytical meditation, because transformation takes place only through analytical meditation, right? We may think, many great masters, for example, like in olden times, for example, many great masters, some they also in the many Indian great masters, like many great, there are 80 Mahasiddhas, we call 80 Mahasiddhas, who really spend their life as a hunter, some shoemaker, like some they gambler, just giving the teaching, they are instantly, their Buddha seed is activated instantly. Right. So through their practice they achieve certain high level of realization. Then we may also in the land of snow in Tibet, many great masters appeared, right? So many early great masters who seem to have not studied, then we may cite the example. Why should I do this analytical meditation? These great masters from India and land of snow, they didn't do much like this, right? So what we do say is, this is different. They have already completed the study in many lifetimes already. So in this life, the only thing is that they come across with a condition. When the right condition is met, then the Buddha nature or Buddha seed is activated instantly. So therefore we need to, in our case, we need to begin with all these things right. That means, sometimes, we even, getting difficult to understand right. That means we have not well trained right over many lifetimes. These are the great masters who appeared. They already trained, they already, gain much of training, right, through study, reflection. Now, then, only one thing, the thing is left, that they are yet to, burst the realization from inside. So this is now what is happening, right? When they come with the right teacher, right master, right circumstances, situation, right, things like this. Yeah. Since now, such is the depth of his reverence to the great seer. 54. Since it is due to my teacher's kindness, I have met with the teaching of the unexcelled teacher. Now, this is number 54. From 54 is a dedication. Dedication. Jisangaba is making dedication. Since it is due to my teacher's kindness, I have met with the teaching of the unexcelled teacher. Because the teaching of the unexcelled teacher. Because why unexcelled teacher is, in terms of speaking the truth of the dependent origination, he is unexcelled, right? Unexcelled. And then, first of all, why Buddha become unexcelled teacher? He was produced from the teaching, right? By practicing the teaching, the Buddha become the unexcelled teacher, right? So, I have the teaching, that when we talk about the teaching, there are two kinds of teaching, as we know, scriptural teaching and the realizational teaching, these teachings. So, by practicing the scriptural teaching, Buddha come to achieve many of the spiritual attainments. So this is teaching is the realizational teaching, right? I have met with the teaching of the unexcelled teacher. So I come to meet with unexcelled teacher, and all this was due to my teacher's kindness. Now here, what kind of teacher is the teacher? When we talk about the teacher, there are three kinds of teacher, right? At least in Buddhism, there are three kinds of teacher: the teacher of the Hinayana, the teacher of the Mahayana, and the teacher of the Tantrayana. Now here refers mainly to the teacher of the Mahayana, right? In the teacher of the Hinayana, certain qualities is required. For to be as a qualified Hinayana teacher, you need 5 qualities. You need to have should have the pure vows, ethics. So one is very well versed in the the rituals of the vows. One should have compassion towards the patient, or sick person. All the students are also to some extent pure in their kind of vows, right? So such is the, and then to be able to benefit both spiritually and economically. So that is the qualities, right, of the Hinayana teacher. And the quality of the Mahayana or Hinayana means the Vinaya, Vinaya teacher. And then the quality of the Mahayana is Shingi Tuva Shiva Nyer Shiva Shingi pacified Shingi Tuva Shiva, pacified, well pacified Shingi Tuva Shiva Nyer Shiva, thoroughly pacified Tuva Shiva Nyer Shiva Yundel Haje Yundel, the spiritual knowledge exceeded then the student in the perseverance and then rich in the scriptural quotation in the and also have and then very skillful in teaching, right, and then have understanding of the insight, wisdom, and then have compassion, the love, right, love and compassion, and then have the some kinds of and also some kind of patience. So these are the 10 qualities, right. So here the Mahayana teacher, so I dedicate this virtue towards the cause for all beings to be sustained by sublime spiritual mentor. So here is the dedication is being made. Now usually there is a difference between dedication and the prayer, right. What is dedication? What is prayer, right? When we talk about dedication, when we dedicate means to give away, right? To give away from your heart, from the depth of your heart, dedicating, right? You dedicate, right? So I have some I have some although I cannot for example, I watch I want to give this to all the my friends, right, all the sentient beings, right, sentient beings. I cannot give because I have only one, right. So mentally I dedicate this, mentally I visualize giving all this to sentient beings. I dedicate completely. So when you dedicate, then there is no grasping, right, something like this. Again, for example, if there is a very powerful practice like Mandala practice, right, it's the same. The Mandala practice involves giving away, offering, making offering, all the making offering the resources, the body, the merits of the 3 times. So here similarly, when we talk about the dedicating when we the object, the dedication, when we make the dedication needs the object. When we talk about the object, there are 3. One's body and other's body, and then one's resources and others' resources, and then the merit of the 3 times. So right. So the merit of the, so here we are not dedicating the one's resources, we are not dedicating one's our body. Here we are dedicating the merit that we have accumulated over the many lifetimes. So these 3 merits again earned through over 3 times. So these merits are we are dedicating for what purpose? Dedicating that may all sentient beings, may all beings come to have meet with the Mahayana spiritual guide, spiritual mentor. And in general, we dedicate for the Buddha's teaching, and especially we dedicate our merit that all the beings come to have meet with the qualified Mahayana spiritual mentors. So this is what we are dedicating, right? For all beings to be sustained by spiritual mentors, because then what happened? If we are guided by Mahayana spiritual happen, then what? If we are guided by Mahayana spiritual mentor, we on our part rely on with the Mahayana spiritual master with action and with intention, with motivation. With this, then through this, by sincerely following the Mahayana spiritual guide, we finally come to actualize, we finally come to attain the wisdom of dependent origination. So this is what we are seeking. So this is what we want, this is what we aspire. So our final goal, we are getting, or we are receiving our final goal, something like gift, right? So this is the purpose. Then number 55, may the teaching of this beneficent one till world's end be unshaken by the winds of evil thoughts. May it always be filled with those who find conviction. May it always be filled with those who find conviction in the teaching, in the teacher, by understanding the teaching of understanding the teacher's teachings true nature. Right? Now what is saying? Verse 55. Now this again making another dedication, that dedicating that the earth, our earth, is being filled with the beings with the faith derived through stainless reason, right? So this is dedicating, may the earth be filled with such a beings, whose faith is developed and cultivated through, which gain through the stainless reason. For this dedicated, may the teaching of this beneficent one means refers to the Buddha, right? Because Buddha is a savior or beneficent, not saving in the sense that all his realization, as we discussed last time, through blessing, giving something like this, not in that way, because beneficent, because Buddha is a teacher, Buddha is the speaker who taught the teaching of dependent origination. For what purpose? For removing all that suffering, removing all our suffering, removing all our delusions. Through this, giving teaching, which helps to relieve from suffering and delusions, and we finally reach in a state of ultimate bliss. So this is the Buddha's main purpose, by the teaching of this beneficent one till world's end. So Buddha's teaching, as long as samsara exists, as long as samsara remain, may this teaching, unique teaching, and especially the teaching of dependent origination, this teaching of the teaching of Buddha's teaching in general, and the teaching of the dependent origination in particular, may it remain until samsara ends. While it remain until samsara ends, may it be not shaken. May it be not shaken by the will of evil thoughts. Yeah, may it be unshaken by the winds of evil thoughts. Right. So this kind of beauty of the teaching, the marvelous of the teaching, is not polluted. May this kind of teaching is not polluted by the misconception, distortions, misconception, misunderstanding, right? So different kinds of the evil thoughts. May this beauty of the teaching is not polluted by all these evil thoughts, right? That means so here winds, right? Winds is used. Be unshaken by the winds of evil thoughts. Then winds is referred to as the evil thought, right? So Buddha's teaching is like a fire, fire, the flame. So Buddha's flame is always remains something like stable, then when the winds come from the east, the fire goes to the east. When it comes from the west, it goes to the, when the wind comes from the west, it goes, the flame move to the west direction. So Tsongkhapa say, don't do like this, do not, do not make unclean the Buddha's teaching by, unclean by many kinds of, thoughts, negative thoughts or evil thoughts. Let it be remain as it is, do not, pollute it, do not pollute it. May it always be filled with those who find conviction, right, in the teacher, by understanding the teaching's true nature, right? Now what is the, now in the, it says, may it always be filled with those who find conviction, right, in the teacher, by understanding the teaching's true nature. What is the teaching's true nature? What is the teaching's true nature? The teaching's true nature is right from the beginning. All the degenerations of the world, all the defects of the world, all the shortcomings of the world, right? So it says the Buddha's teaching. So Buddha's teaching is the dispeller. Buddha's teaching is the dispeller of the shortcomings of the world, the degenerations of the world, the defects of the world, right? So the Buddha's teaching as a dispeller of the degenerations of the world is proved, is based on the proven by stainless reason, is grounded on the stainless reason, right? So this is the true nature, teaching's true nature. Such is the teaching's true nature. So based on such understanding, then we cultivate the conviction. Conviction to whom? We develop the conviction in the teacher. At this point, who is the teacher? Teacher Buddha. By such understanding, we develop a deep conviction in the Buddha, right? Buddha. So conviction in the Buddha, right? So therefore, may the earth be filled with such a person, such a person who developed the conviction to Buddha by understanding the teachers, by understanding the teaching's true nature. What is the teaching's true nature? The teaching's true nature is that Buddha's teaching as a dispeller. Buddha's teaching as the dispeller of the degenerations of the world, the dispeller of the shortcomings, the dispeller of the defects of the world or samsara, and this is grounded on reason and stainless reason. Once we gain such understanding, then it is at that point that we develop the unshakable conviction, faith and devotion to the Buddha, right? Buddha. So the faith and the conviction gained through such understanding. So these people may, the whole, this earth is filled with these people. May the earth be filled with these kind of people. So this is what is saying. Verse, 55, right, 55. So this is the true nature, right? By understanding the Buddha's true teaching, the true nature of the Buddha's teaching, the true nature of the Buddha's teaching is, Buddha's teaching as the true dispeller, true destroyer of the degenerations, the troubles, the problems of the world. Right? We know where we no need to explain further, right? Because much of the problem in this world is caused by what? Ignorance. If we have no ignorance, we are free. We are in a state of bliss. So much of the problem, many problem is caused by ignorance. So Buddha taught the method to eliminate this cause, cause which creates all the degenerations, which creates all the problem, difficulties, and the problem in the world. Right? So that's very clear. And you say, many of the afflictions, many of the negative emotions, anger, jealousy, attachment, all this, where does all this go? Again, all this comes from the ignorance, And then, all the Buddha's teaching, is all the Buddha taught different kinds of teaching. All these Buddha's teaching are based on the dependent origination. For what purpose Buddha taught all this teaching, which is based on dependent origination, is to free from suffering, freed from all the temporary suffering. Freed from all the temporary suffering. When we are freed from all the temporary suffering, then we find temporary happiness. Through that, we then seek the final happiness, final bliss, right? Ultimate bliss. So like this. Yala, in the wisdom chapter, Master Shantideva says, Yala theta thamjine tube sherab thendu songsa. Buddha all taught all this, the different kinds of teaching, the branches of the teaching, the methods aspect of the teaching. Buddha, right? For example, in the 9th chapter is the wisdom, right? All from the first chapter to the 8th chapter is all about. Buddha taught the method aspects of the path, right? So Shantideva taught the method aspects of the path, right? Then Shantideva said, all these method aspects of the of the path is taught for what purpose? Is taught for the purpose of cultivating, that we come to cultivate the wisdom which is supported with tremendous amount of merit, the support of merit, which then not only destroy the afflictions, not only destroy the ignorance, but also that it destroy the very root of the very subtle imprints, not only the ignorance itself, but also those imprints stored by the ignorance. Once we destroy all the imprints of the delusions, here we go. We are in the state of supreme bliss, right? Like this. Then we read 56. May I also dedication, right? Also Josong making dedication. May I never falter, even for an instant, to uphold the excellent way of the sage, which illuminates the principle of dependent origination through all my birth, even giving away my body and life. May I 56, right? May I never falter, even for any. May I never feel any lazy, some kind of feel discouraged, feel lazy. May I never fall, even for an instant. Never feel lazy, something like. Even for an instant, to uphold that excellent way of the sage, because this is the excellent way of the sage, because it is a teaching of the divine nectar, very something like nectar, which when just the mere taste of which creates a relaxedness, right, the bliss. Similarly, the sage, the teaching of the sage, which then when come into contact, get the taste of which relieves the suffering. To uphold the excellent way of the sage, which illuminates the principle of dependent origination, because Buddha teaching, as we said earlier, that which illuminates the principle of dependent origination, right? All the teachings of the Buddha is based on the dependent origination, right? Which then also based on dependent origination, and this excellent teaching illuminates, further brighten the principle of dependent origination. Through all my births, even giving away my body in my life, so throughout the life, may I be able to give away my body and life for the purpose of what? For the purpose of to uphold your wonderful teaching, your amazing teaching, the teaching which the mere getting into flavor of it dispel all the dispelled suffering, which then creates a lasting joy, right? So this is what 56 is talking about. Throughout all my birth, even giving away my body and life, in order to uphold your wonderful teaching, because it is worthwhile to uphold. It is really truly a worthwhile. Because for example, even when we are when we are sick, when we are having some headache, some kind of serious headache, we get we try to get medicine for headache, right? So if your purpose of getting headache medicine is just for curing the headache, this is temporary, right? Now here talking about the the medicine of the medicine of ultimate bliss, the medicine of lasting happiness, the medicine of lasting happiness. So the medicine of lasting happiness is what we need to introduce to the medicine of lasting happiness. We need to taste the flavor of lasting happiness, right? So it is most worthwhile. It is most worthwhile to uphold, to enter into this wonderful, amazing teaching, to practice that teaching, right? Like this. Then number 57. May I now again dedication. So this 56 is dedicating for what? Dedicating that may I be able to uphold, may all the the virtue, may all the merit that I have accumulated by praising the Buddha for having taught the dependent origination, may this merit also serve as a cause for upholding your teaching in general, and particularly the teaching of dependent origination, like this. 57. Then also I spend day and night carefully reflecting on this teaching. This teaching achieved by this. May I spend day and night carefully reflecting by what means can I enhance this teaching achieved by the Supreme Savior through strenuous effort over countless eons, right? So this also dedicating that may the Buddha's teaching remain on this earth for a very long period of time, right? So dedicating May I spend day and night carefully reflecting by what means can I enhance all by day and night. I reflect upon what? Reflect on in what ways can I, in what ways can I keep it, can I sustain it, can I flourish it, the teaching of divine origination. In what ways, may I spend day and night thinking and reflecting, how can I enhance to remain this wonderful teaching, remain on this earth, sustaining on this earth, flourishing on this earth. By what means can I enhance this teaching, the teaching achieved by the Supreme Savior, this teaching achieved. Who achieved this teaching? The teaching of divine origination is what is achieved by the Supreme Savior. Right? Because the Buddha is the Supreme Savior, the Savior in the sense that he taught the method for elevating the suffering and the afflictions for those who are seeking the liberation and eternal peace and joy. Through strenuous effort over countless eons, this teaching achieved by Supreme Savior through strenuous effort over countless eons, right? As we discussed, right, Buddha, in order to achieve that, in order to obtain that wonderful teaching, he at some time give away his body. At other times, he give away his resources. At other times, he even gave away his soul, to many precious things. This is not for done for one lifetime, 2 lifetime, but it is carried on over for countless eons. It is done for countless and countless of eons. Through strenuous efforts over countless eons. Right. So also this is dedicating, right, that Buddha's teaching uphold, sustain or maintain, and then flourish, propagate for a very long period of time. As we discussed, as long as space remains, as long as space exists, as long as samsara exists. Through body, speech and mind, I make every effort, each and every effort, that this teaching be kept, will be kept, will be maintained, and will be flourished and propagated. Then number 58. Number 58. Number 58. You can also relate this to dedication or prayer. Whatever is just making wish. If you relate that to the prayer, then you can it's just a making of wish. Or if you or you could say dedicate, because 58 it says, as I strive in this with pure intention, may Brahma, Indra and the world's guardians and protectors Mahakala unwaveringly always assist me. Right. So now Siddhanga say, I am doing all these things on my part. I am doing all these things with no personal agenda, with no kind of my wish. This is my pure wish, pure intention, right? My pure intention, my pure wish is not polluted by any kind of self-interest. Is I'm not doing this for self benefit, but purely for the benefit of the Buddha Dharma, right? To make sure that Buddha's teaching remain on this earth for a long period of time. As I strive in this with pure intention, right? There is no pollutants of motivation. There is no pollutants of motivation in when it comes to my wish or intention. No pollutants of emotions or delusions is involved. So therefore, me Brahma. Now Jazangaba was seeking the help of those gods, divine beings. He was seeking the help of divine beings, to fulfill his vision, to fulfill his goal, that Buddha's teaching remain on this earth for what long period of time. He is asking them to help, to assist me in fulfilling this dream, right? Me Brahma, Indra, and the world's guardians. Brahma and Indra, why Jazangaba requested to those gods, worldly gods, right?
Yeah, promise to protect Buddha Dharma.
Yes, I strive in this with pure intention. May Brahma, Indra, and the world's guardians, right? First, where is Brahma? Where is Indra? Where is the world's guardian? Right. So, when Buddha achieved enlightenment, for 49 days he didn't. For 49 days he refused to give any teaching, right? Safi today was too much. I have attained Safi today was too much. I attained a nectar-like teaching, the nectar-like teaching, which is so profound, which is free from all the elaborations, complexities, which is clear light, which is uncompounded. So this kind of wonderful, the natural light teaching, which if I try to teach, nobody would understand. Nobody will understand. So therefore, let me remain in peace. Let me remain at peace. I don't make any effort to speak this to others. If I do, nobody will understand. Right. So then, after 49 days, then it was Indra. It was the Indra and also Brahma. So they requested Buddha to teach. So the requester was Brahma and Indra and all these things, right? So these gods requested the Buddha to teach. So this is how Buddha taught the first teaching. So then, so Brahma and Indra, as with this, they are not in the desire realm, right? They are not in the desire realm. We talk about form realm. Yeah, they are in the desire realm. Truga. Yes, because we know the structure of the Mount Meru, right? On the Mount Meru, there is a here it says the world's guardian. The world's guardian refers to the 4 worldly kings. 4 worldly kings, because they are called world's guardian. Also, they are very wealthy. These 4 guardians on the 4 directions. Mount Meru. So these 4 gods. One is Namthuse, we call the well of God, the well of God. So the 4 guardians. So on the top of the Mount Meru, there is Gejin Rishi, 4 worldly gods, and on the top of that Sunju Zasum, 33 realm. Sunju Gejin Rishi, Sunju Zasum. Then Sumjidasum, and then Thabde, without combating. There's a realm called without combating. Then on the top of that Gandhin, Tushita. On the top of that Truga, mastery over emanation, one's own emanation. After that, on the top of that is a Shindu gaining emanation over others. So there are 6 on the desire realm. On top of that is a 6 further gods, the realm of the gods, which are all in desire realm. And then on the top of that is now begin to come form realm, and on the top of that is the formless realm. So like this. So there now may Brahma, not only Brahma, Indra and the world guardians, and there are many protectors. There are many worldly gods who all of whom during the time of Buddha they professed, they make a pledge, they made a promise that they would help to preserve, they would help to preserve and maintain or protect the Buddha's teaching, right? And protectors such as Mahakala. What about Mahakala? And protectors such as Mahakala. What is the difference between the the earlier Brahma, Indra, the world's guardians? Because they not only those who are the sincerely practice the Buddha's teaching, they also make a pledge to protect this earlier Brahma, Indra, the world's guardians. But then the third verse say protectors, right? And protectors. Here is the 6 Mahakala, 6 are Mahakala, right? There are many other protectors. 6 are Mahakalas, 4 are Mahakala, and then there are many. So the earlier gods, the earlier gods of the desire realm, they made the pledge to to protect the Buddha's teaching in general. Here those protectors, like 6 are Mahakala, 4 are Mahakala, they made a pledge to keep the Buddha's, the perfection of wisdom teaching, and especially the teaching of the view, the teaching of the emptiness in general. They made a pledge, they promised that they would keep the Buddha's teaching, the teaching of dependent origination, the teaching of emptiness, the perfection of wisdom teaching in general, right? And protectors such as Mahakala. Now here Mahakala, right? Not only Mahakala, 6 are Mahakala, 4 are Mahakala, and then Dharmaraja, right? There are many other protectors. Unwaveringly always assist me. So unwaveringly assist me. How do they assist? these divine beings, how do they exist? So these gods, worldly gods of the desired limb and the protectors, they do the 4 activities. We know, right? We know the activities of pacification, the activities of increasing, the activities of subjugation, the activities of wrathful. So they do whatever kind of activities they do. May these activities, through these activities, do they assist me? May they never distract it, helping me in these through 4 activities. For what? For sustaining the Buddha's teaching, right? For prevailing the Buddha's teaching, for flourishing the Buddha's teaching, for upholding the Buddha's teaching in general, and especially the teaching of the way, the teaching of the perfection of wisdom. This perfection of teaching, may it remain, flourish, sustain, abide, preserve for a long period of time, right? So this is what it's all about. 58. What it? What's the time? I think
5:53.
5:53.
Yeah.
Oh, about the very good. Seem like this now. Very good. So with this we have finished this, the praise of, in praise of divine origination, in praise of divine origination, which is sometimes what we call as the small eloquent speech. Tsongkhapa has wrote, one eloquent speech, which is very, very important text, that we do study in the monastery. The very, very important text, sutra text, sutra text, and then that is the the big one, extensive version, and this is the shorter version of the eloquent speech. Just hearing is very fortunate. Yeah. So I will go through first chapter, first line. He who speaks on the basis of seeing this makes him a knower and teacher unexcelled. I bow to you, O omniscient conqueror, you who saw divine origination and taught it. Whatever degenerations there are in the world, the root of all this is ignorance. Very clear, very, very clear. Yeah. You taught that it is dependent origination, the seeing of which will undo this ignorance, dependent origination, right? So how can one intelligent person not comprehend that this path of dependent origination is the essential point of your teaching? This being so, who will find, O Savior, a more powerful way to praise you than to praise you who for having taught this origination through dependence? Whatsoever depends on continuation, this is devoid of intrinsic existence. What excellent instruction can they be more amazing than this proclamation? By grasping it, the child is strengthened bondage to extreme view. For the wise, this very fact is the doorway to cut free from the net of elaboration. Since this teaching is not even is not seen elsewhere, you alone are the teacher, like fox calling a lion forth. It would be a word of flattery. Wondrous teacher, wondrous refuge, wondrous speaker, wondrous savior. I pay homage to that teacher who taught well dependent origination, right? So I think I received this I think I received this teaching from His Holiness Dalai Lama, and also oral transformation from His Eminence Chögyam Rinpoche, dependent origination. So we are fortunate to have been able to thoroughly complete this wonderful teaching, right? If you have any question?
Is that quick question? Is it a sutra? Is it a sutra regarding this? You mentioned at the end. What is it? The sutra regarding this teaching?
Eloquent speech. Eloquence,
I'll send you the English text.
This is very, very, the eloquent speech. This one is very, very one of the most sutra text Tsongkhapa has, written. I think almost, I don't know how to. In monks, we used to memorize this text almost like this. All the essential points, all the Buddha's, essential points of the sutra teachings in there. Make a very wonderful text.
And